Welcome, kayak anglers. You are tuning into the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network, kayak fishing's best network of shows with great hosts covering all things kayak fishing, bringing you special guests covering topics such as shore fishing, river trips, gear reviews, angler profiles, tournament news, and more. Sit back, relax. Let's do this.
What is going on, everybody? I'm Adam Pross. I'm your host, and I welcome you to another episode of the River Run Podcast. And this is always a special episode. I'm always excited to be joined by my brother from down in Virginia. This is the River Runs Through It segment. Wade from Yak Attack will be here briefly. But yeah, no. How is everybody? We're all making it through. The year is almost done. This is exciting. Christmas is right around the corner. Yeah, I don't know what you're going to put on your Christmas list yet, but, you know, Yak Attack has always got loads of stuff out there for all your kayak fishing needs, rigging needs. But yeah, no, I had a chance to get out on the river one last time before my season up north closed. And it was kind of a bittersweet. Like, I'll be honest with you, like it was a tough fish. Like the first day I waited for just about half the day, covered a good stretch, and I really struggled to find fish. And I brought 2 rods with me, and I just kind of worked my way through it. And so then I decided the next day that I was going to go out on my kayak to another stretch, a little further west, and I started to kind of go and work my way around the structure and whatnot. But I'll tell you this. When I ended up hooking into one northern pike, and the fight was, I'll be honest with you, it was done in seconds. This thing hit, pulled, and then just literally looked like he froze in time. So I'm thinking that, you know, at this point, the fish were probably pretty lethargic. It was on a very slow pause. Like, it was very slow pace fishing, just chucking that jerk bait out there, jerking it a couple times, and then just letting it hang. And usually when it would hang, it was what seemed to entice the pike to want to smash it. So yeah, it was cool to, you know, definitely catch something one last time, you know, before you actually shut it down for the year. Paddling out in the snow, that was kind of cool. I can't say I've done that. There was big wet snowflakes. It was super pretty out there. The river was like glass. But yeah, it was cold, and I was definitely had my dry suit on. That was very important. And I did have my chest waders on too, just because I was consistently in and out of that kayak. But yeah, no, I'm sad to see it end. I'm going to miss getting out on the water and waiting. I wish that I could, I really wish I could actually go through the whole winter smallmouth fishing, and like, just, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people who do that become such impressive anglers just on the skill set of how slow paced winter fishing is. And in a river system, I think it would be cool, but unfortunately I don't have that luxury. So I have to wait until June next year. And yeah, so I hope all your seasons are going well. If your season come to an end too, let me know. Like I want to hear how it was for you. But yeah, no, in the end, it was cool. And I gotta say, like, I enjoyed my season. But you know what? Why don't we ask Wade Clements how his season was? Hey man, what's going on?
What's up, dude? How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm doing good. And I just want to say thanks again for stopping on by the River Run podcast. Like, dude, like it's always so much fun to have you on. And once again, we get to sit down and we get to talk, fishing and maybe a couple of Yak Attack things. But I was just talking about my season, like how my season has come to the end. And for me, like I gotta say, like I really enjoyed my season out there. I feel like I definitely checked off some boxes on some stuff that, just as an angler, I felt like I've really grown, and it was kind of cool for me too to go back and just be out on the river one time after my last fall accident. But no, I was out there and I catching the smallies, and man, it was a blast. Like, how was your season? Like, how's your season going?
Well, I gotta say, I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't that bad, but the more I progress in this industry and this sport, and just try to go harder every year, it was kind of a struggle. I traveled more this year than I ever have in the past. I was gone somewhere like 1 week a month,
Wow.
all year long.
Yeah.
And the opportunities that I got to get out. I mean, obviously, you prep for a week to leave town, and then you come home, and then you got to catch up for a week, cut the grass, and do all that stuff. So the opportunities I had to get out, I'd get to go out on the 60-degree, cloudy, rainy day, and then 2 days later, sunny and 80 degrees and beautiful, for that summer top water and everything that I really love.
Oh, that's a good time.
Both of my trips to the New River this year, I came in on a lot of rain and, just muddy chocolate milk, waters. But I mean, I was pretty consistent, even from my first trip of the year, getting out on the river. I mean, 18, 17-inch fish all day long. That's nothing to whine about. I mean, solid, good, good, consistent fish all the time. But, looking for those 20s, hunting for the 20-plus fish was my struggle this year. And I actually ended up my last trip out, which was several weeks ago, was the last fish of the day, maybe second to last, but was 19 3/4.
A nice fish.
My best fish of the year. So yeah, not gunning for Troy Wines this year, but maybe next year. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I said, every time I turned around, I was fighting the elements, and I know, I mean, you can still get out there and catch them, but it's just,
yeah, I
was working uphill, like the old folks going to school in the snow.
Oh man, like I've just really come to this realization that like I'm not by any means like a trophy smallmouth hunter. Like that's, if they cross my path, it's really cool, but like I don't go out there and I'm like, I gotta catch, like I go out there and like I catch everything from, I catch like 14 inchers to, I'll take even 16, 17s, 18s, 19s, like I didn't break any 20s. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not on the river. Like I broke two big ones on when I went fishing down with the Matt Gibson and Brian Schiller down in Clayton, New York. But like those are some big, 5-pounders, but we didn't measure them. Would they have been over 20? Probably. But yeah, no, like I don't know. To me, it's just always an adventure to be out on the river. And I just like
Oh, yeah.
sitting there and continuously figuring it out. And like, I have, and, Travis Myers has always said to me, like, talks about journaling and like, the idea that you can, document these things, and like, that was something huge that I started to do, after the first couple times we've spoken. And I tell you, like, I consistently look at Mother Nature and just the river that day in such a unique way. And there's so many things that just like all come together. And then it's like, usually when I'm driving home or I'm just getting back, and I'm like, well, that makes sense why like that was working. Oh, this makes sense why that was working. I understand why this wasn't working. You know what I mean? Like, it all starts.
Oh yeah. If you're not looking at that data and going back and forth, I mean, you're casting blind every time you go out there. I've been keeping a log for since 2019. So I guess it's 6 years or coming up on 7, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, just where I went, what the date was, how many miles of river I covered, and it kind of started there. And I started adding in the number of catches, and then the air temp and the water levels, and then put in a note section just for anything extra, to try to keep up with all that. And looking back on it's pretty awesome.
Well, yeah. And like, and even for me, like, I this summer have spent more time fishing low water. Like my river was low like all summer. I don't think it's been that low in a while. Usually it does have some deep holes in it, but for the majority of it, I will be honest with you, and even Jay Brown, he would say, like, I did not, to be honest, fish out of a kayak this summer. Like, I spent my majority of my time wading my way through, because there was just no point to sit in a kayak when you're in, less than, a foot of water or less. And it was just a shuttle just to get from, okay, we can get through this part. Cool. Float down. Okay. Boom, out, fish here, and for me, it's just one of those things that like, it really showed me a new way to tackle, that shallow water, and especially that low water too in the summertime, because by the time I continued into November, especially in October, it started to come back up. And then I was really faced with this, like, now, it was starting to get super clear, and like, now I'm really struggle, I'd go out there and struggle, but then I'd start to pin them off. And then by the end of it, the last time I went out and I looked at the gauge, like the river was like rising like significantly. And I was like, holy crap, like this is the water I've wanted like all year. And I'm like, my season's coming to an end. And like all the spots that I could tell you were, and like, I could literally say there's like, there's like a 5-foot, rock over there. I know there's a ledge over there. Like there's definitely a bunch of trees all bundle up down in there. There's big root balls there. You would never know, because the river has just, made it disappear. So, to me, it was like one of those things that like when I walked out of there that last time, and I was like, like I was like, it was bittersweet. Like, you didn't catch any smallies, I caught 2 pike, but it was just like, like, and it made sense. Like, these fish are obviously quite lethargic, and at the same time, and we're going into that really cold weather now, and things are starting to obviously shut down and not want to move around. So but yeah, no, like I think that's why I always say, like, it's just, to me, it's just so important to journal these things and document, and I wish I could get a big picture of the river that I fish, and just, like, circle here. And I've done the thing where, you go on Google Maps and you begin Google Earth, and you look back.
Oh, do I know? I told you, that's my addiction.
Oh, and so I go back and I look, and I'm like, oh yeah, I see that. Yeah. And so I kind of navigate down to there, and I understand what's going on here. But yeah, no. So yeah, and for you guys, in like, You guys are like open all year. Or does the season shut down for you down in Virginia?
It just depends on what you get into. It's we're on a really cold week right now. I mean, lows in the 20s and highs in the 40s. But I mean, they're still going to have some of the same patterns. They're gonna congregate and group up and stage in different parts of the river. And that's unfortunately one of the things that I don't get to do a lot this time of year is really go out and learn it. From that aspect this time of year. Now there are areas of the New River that I could go to right now, and I know they're stacking up. But James, I just really haven't spent the time in the cold weather months. If I get out, it's usually I'll go to a lake or something like that instead, and go for the old largies.
Yeah, why not? They're always fun.
Oh yeah, they're all right. They're not smallmouth though.
I didn't want to be that guy to say it, but yeah, that's true.
Somebody had to. Adam. But it's not the same.
No,
but,
it's not.
But I mean, honestly, I mean, learning those techniques. I mean, I couldn't think of anybody better than Jeff Little. I mean, I don't know many that spend the time that he spends out really learning and patterning their how they react. And you were just talking about essentially dead sticking to catch the pike. And I mean, I know he jigs like that, for smallmouth. I've seen a bunch of videos and just him and I talking personally, like that's how he's doing it. And that's so different than most of my summertime topwater. Like when topwater season starts to fade, it's they call it seasonal depression. I used to believe it didn't actually exist until started kayak fishing.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because I kind of felt that when I was, heading out there, and I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be the last run, like this is, so, but there's always other stuff you can do, and for me in the wintertime, I'm always, I like tying jigs and, and I'll be honest with you, Jeff Little does give you a lot of unique tackle crafting ideas. So I think I'm going to repaint some crankbaits that I have and
there you go.
Give that a try. And once again, he is a major influence into my fishing for sure. Just like probably many other of us who hit the river for smallmouth. Jeff is definitely giving out knowledge nuggets all the time,
Yes.
So, and you can always go back in all those playlists and like, if you need to understand, a month, whether it's a rigging thing that he's doing or just, some unique trip where he's, on the west coast of the United States, or he's, down and fishing, the bay, you know what I mean? Like he is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. He'll get his dry erase board out and draw that little diagram of the river and drawing that little current seam and the rocks over here and the grass on this side and show you that. And I mean, that is, I mean, you can't
that's how I learned
that and just, not using your eyeballs and your ears.
Yeah. And, some of us are like, visual learners, and I'm a complete visual learner, you know what I mean? And to have somebody that sits there and is like, I'm going to draw this out for you. And like, so if you're here and the current, and then he grabs another one, it's here and then another, and he's like, so you want to be into here. And you're like, oh, instead of, being like, well, if you're going to throw into the laminar flow and from the laminar flow, you're going to be reached with, these points here, and you're going to want to cast up here. And you're like, not really familiar with this, like the fact that he takes the time to draw it out is probably one of my favorite parts of all of his videos.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, me, unfortunately, I might lose cool points, but I spend a lot of time around the house once we get into November. We do a lot of decorating for Christmas. We host all the family holidays. His son's at college now, so I got a week with him last week. He'll be back in 2 weeks from now.
Oh, yeah.
There's Christmas things, dinners and parties, fire department, Christmas dinner, and all the things to do, so I just,
Hey, you got to take care of the family, take care of life, and I think at the same time, we always begin to appreciate those times we actually do get out on the water. We become more grateful for our catches and whatnot, because I truly do believe that. So Yak Attack, and I think you and I could really get into something here tonight. And one of the topics that I'm starting to notice seems to come up a lot, and I started to see it on you see it on forums, and you see people talking about it, is when you see new people coming into the sport and they're interested in whether it's a kayak build or just like, hey, what do I need for a build, or I'm thinking of getting out on the water, and like I kind of want to upgrade this, and the net that I have, it's not the greatest, or I'm using this milk crate, but I'd like to use this, or actually I have a camera that I want to put on the back of my kayak, and and so and I think a lot of times they get on these forums and everybody's like, oh, you got to get a black pack, you got to get the the short stack, you're gonna have to get the boom stick, you definitely need the boom stick, oh, and you need a phone one too, and you're gonna need an anchor, and you'll need the leverage landing net. And then by the time that you're done talking to this person, and their one little question that they had, which was like, do you have any suggestions for kayak fishing accessories that I should add to my boat, you end up getting like 500 answers, and majority of them are just probably feeling very overwhelmed.
Right. And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of new anglers, people new to the sport, make. And that's thinking that you need everything that you see everybody else with. And that can even ruin it for some people. I've seen, people posting in groups, throughout their build. And then by the time they finally go out and get their boat wet, they're like, oh, I don't even like this.
Yeah.
I mean, there are 4 things that you need to go out. There we go. 4 things.
That's cool. Wasn't sure
you
how we
need
did it.
to go out and kayak fish, and we don't make any of them. You need a kayak. You need a paddle. You need a good PFD
Mm-hmm.
and a rod. Tackle aside. Maybe that's why I had that thumb up.
Yeah, we're like, tackle aside.
But where Yak Attack comes into that scenario, it makes your time on the water easier and more organized, right? But step 1, bro, is go get your boat wet. Figure out what kind of fishing are you doing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going out, northeast coast, with the big striper runs, or are you, fishing a river? Are you out fishing the lake? Are you down in Florida where it's just paradise all the time and you can go fishing any day of the week?
There you
go. It's there's no correct recipe for everybody. Like, get your boat wet, bro. Like, and then just build on it,
Exactly. And I can't stress this part enough, because I hear so many people, like, they get their boat and yet they're so focused on what they're going to put in it, but yet you've never paddled that thing. You've never pedaled that thing. You're about to put a motor on something that you've never had in the water. You have no idea how it handles, and you don't understand where the weight distribution is, and and for instance, like, can you actually paddle this boat? A lot of people, sure, there's a lot of great boats out there, and more and more we see is the influence of motors on the back, whether it's Newport, Torpedo, and it's one of those things where it's great, definitely handy to have, but if you can't navigate the water with a boat that you can't even paddle, how do you expect to be able to do this in the event that those things aren't become unavailable to you? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's one of the things that I always say, like, go out there, put it in the water, paddle it, see how it handles, just go and fish out of it. And even for me, when I purchased back in a couple of years ago, I purchased a Bite FD through Jackson Kayak, and people are like, "Oh, how are you going to rig that thing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to put it in the water and I'm just going to go fish out of it." And I remember taking it out to the cottage, and I was doing some largemouth fishing at the time, and I just went out there and I just kind of went around with it, and I just had to get a feel for this thing. And it wasn't until almost like a year and a half later where I had seen a build done by Matt Ball uh, on his Jackson Bite FD, and I was like, I really like the way that he's set this up. So I thought, that would be that kind of, it definitely put me in the right direction. Kind of did my own tweaks with it. In the end, yeah, I was really happy with it. I was really happy with the way it turned out. Now, that being said, had I had maybe gone with a more complex route, drilled a bunch of holes, did this, did that, what if you don't like it in the end? Now you're stuck with something that's not necessarily put out there in the way that you imagined it. You know what I mean? Because everybody, like, the thing about kayaks is, there may be a dealer that offers you like an actual like sit in, take it out on the water. Like, for instance, like up here in Canada, Frontenac Outfitters is a place where you can go and they'll put the boat in the water for you. And I'm sure there's a lot of other paddle companies across Canada and the US. Delaware Paddle Sports, Woods and Waters in upstate New York. You have the ability to, like, maybe get these boats out. But that's the thing about kayaks is, it's kind of hard to say like this is how it's going to be when you just had this boat that you envisioned and read the reviews and whatnot, but it may not always be the best fit for you.
And not every boat is created equal either. You can do things with some boats you can't do with the others. Like I said, it's what's great about kayak fishing is it can be as minimalist or as overboard as you want it to be. That's just up to the builder. But start small, man. Get a feel for it. Find out what's really great about it and what you like about it, and the closeness to the water and the fish and the environment around you and all that cool stuff. I mean, and definitely learn how to paddle before you just go out motoring. There's going to be an instance where you've got to pick that paddle up and you need to know how to use it. Again, that's me. I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but
no, it's great insight. I like this stuff.
I only have a motor on my boat when I have to. I know the value of it, especially especially this time, patterning these winter fish in the river. Like, you find these fish stacked up, you want to be able to stay on it, and that's hard to do while you're casting and paddling at the same time. I mean, I understand, but again, start off simple, and then just add this, and then go out, and then add this, and see, oh, maybe I want to put it on this side, maybe,
especially
maybe my rod holder over here,
exactly.
I'll put it over here, and then on my back cast, I'm hitting my other rod, pitching sidearm underneath trees. I'm hitting this one. Maybe I want to move it to the other side. It's the things like that, I've spent a year tinkering with that RVR that we have at the shop, and got a lot of good out of it. It sounds, just from response, helped a lot of other people with their builds on their RVRs. I really like the way that it's turned out. It's a fun thing to paddle. But again, like I said, every boat's different, but
it is. And
we got to start somewhere though, right? Once we start rigging, we're talking about Yak Attack, so we don't want to deter people from the accessorizing process. But, if I had to start first with something, I mean, it would be rod management.
Exactly.
I mean, it seems like the simplest one to go to first. That's where I started with my very first, fancy kayak. Once I got out of the old sit inside with, the molded in flush mount rod tubes and everything on it. First bona fide that I bought. First thing I did was put a few Omega rod holders on it, and got my rod storage, rod management situation going on behind me the way that I wanted, and branched out from there.
One thing I began to really not enjoy was my rod management that I had going on in my kayaks. And I wouldn't have known this until actually kind of sitting down and years ago. Oh, Yak Attack, interesting. And they had the Omega rod holders. And that became one of my, and still today is my favorite Yak Attack product, because I enjoy my rods horizontal, not vertical. And the ability to actually like place a Omega rod holder beside me, so that when I do catch a fish, I can just kind of put my rod in the side of the Omega rod holder, and then I can have like the fish on the board, or in the net. It gives me a chance to actually like put this net in my kayak where I'm not worried about A, getting tangled up with my line, or B, snapping a rod, which my luck is always gone that way. But it was one of my favorite products, and I actually go out there with usually I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I usually have 4 of them on my kayak. Usually 3 to 4 of them, and they, like I said, one of my favorites. And it's just such an easy way to free up your hands, is just with an Omega rod holder. It's just right there, and you have the extenders, packs for it, And one of my other favorites was the Carbon Pro, the Mighty Mount Gear Track Ready, the flag. The flag was my favorite because it had the battery operated light that you would just turn, light up. And one of the biggest things that I learned throughout the years, especially when I was fishing on the St. Lawrence River, and in the summertime, that's a very popular recreational boating area, especially where I launched, was to be seen. And everybody thinks that they see kayakers, but they don't. And having that flag just let people know that, hey, like, there is actually somebody out there.
Yeah.
And the bonus to the light is, if you launch in the dark, which I used to do, it just lets people know that you're out there. And a really easy safety tip, put the flag on it, you become visible. Like, it's
a great one. It's very simple in the way that it operates. It's made, folds up, you stash it in your black pack, but it's one of the flagship products that put Yak Attack on the map. Not necessarily that version, but earlier version of it.
Yeah.
When we originally started as a safety company. But that's another great one too. And it's crazy how some of the other versions that have come out over the years from other companies have made that one look antiquated. But at the same point, it's so simple, and that's, for me, is what will always make it a superior product out there. Just a twist, like your old school mag light. You've got your light, you've got your flag. Nothing packs away like this one does, folds up and packs away. It floats. It's the bee's knees when it comes to, to safety and being seen out there on the water. That's another great one to start with, depending on what kind of water you're fishing. I don't have to worry about a lot. I'm in rocky, mountainous river systems where, you might get bypassed by a deer or a beaver before you ever see a large boat or something like that on the water. Other kayakers for sure, but no big boats. There's not a lot of worry about getting run over out there, so I don't use it much. If I'm out with a bunch of dudes and we're going to be spreading out and be 1.5 miles away from each other, and like somebody's in a camo boat and a green jacket and a gray PFD, it's great to have that on them to be like, oh, there he is all the way down there. But outside of that, that's
and that's one of the things. Like, if you fish like big lakes, if you're fishing in high traffic recreational areas,
Oh yeah.
it's not a bad investment.
Yeah, no, when I go up and do the Niagara every year, 100%, you know.
It's same thing when I hit the big old St. Lawrence River. It is on. It's flowing, because I tell you, there's been numerous times where even Sea-Doos, I'm like, oh, they're gonna see. No, they don't see you. And like, well, they see the flag now, and you can see when they begin to, kind of go the opposite way. One of the other ones that I've always been a big fan of, and I always had this issue with my net, and it was like, I don't like to put my net behind me, because what I always found was when I was casting, there was that time when, you're chucking a treble hook bait and it was just like, woof. And like, you were either snapping a rod tip, or you were just, just about ready to throw that net. And I began to enjoy having my net in front of me, because if I caught a fish, whether it was on a lake or a river, whatever, I still like to have my net in front of me, because the moment I get into a fish, I can just quickly grab my net. But the problem is, you leave a net free in the front, and especially if you're heading down a river and you're hitting rapids, and it's kind of tricky, because you don't want to lose the net at the same time. So Yak Attack has this thing, the Roto Grip, and the Roto Grip was like my second favorite of all time, because I was like, I could take this small little piece, it's literally like 2 little wheels, and just boom it in there, and I would actually angle it like kind of like on a 45 degree. So instead of my net kind of sitting like this right in front of me, I would turn it so it's like this. So if this is the front of my kayak here, my net, the end of my net is here, and then I'm clipped into the Roto Grip here. So whether I'm paddling down or even in a pedal drive, I'm going through, the moment I lock into a fish, boom, out clips, scoop, we're good to go. And even if, and it, once again, yeah, it's easy. You can let the fish cool down in the net or whatever. But once I've gone and taken that fish, cool, done my thing, put him back in the water, quickly rinsed off my net, back in there. And I even found too, it works great for nets. And I've made my own DUI nets too, but I also use the leveraged landing net, which we'll get to this after. But even as a paddle holder, it does its trick. Now there's the double header, which is like another level of it. But this one here, if you're kind of you're on a budget, you don't have a lot of space rigging wise. These are simple adds, because it can double up as a paddle holder, it doubles up as a net, for your net or whatnot.
Yeah,
I've even used it on rigging my Bite FD as rod holders, and I've actually incorporated
just a stager.
Just
kind of laid in the gap. Yeah.
So what I've done is on the sides of my Bite FD, I have 2, and I screw them down, and they're right at my chair side. And the end, not the butt end, but the handle of my bait caster or my spinning rod, I will clip those in on the side. So let's say I have a spinning rod and I have a bait caster. Let's say you got, I don't know, we're just going to use a top water bite here, and then a spinning rod with some sort of finesse presentation there.
You're going to have your follow-up?
Yeah, it's okay. So follow-up here. And then all I've incorporated is a small piece of like a bungee cord, and I just put that over, and all it does is it just holds my rods down. And if I need my hands free for whatever reason, paddling, or I'm just, I don't really want to have that other rod right in front of me, especially on a pedal drive. Like it's kind of, you could, if you begin to pedal too quickly and your rod kind of slides into where the actual pedal is, you'll see how quickly you can definitely bend guides and, even potentially break tips. Where if they're on the sides of my boat, I don't have to worry about that. Why? Because they're not in the way. So
Right.
simple one there. That's why I've always been a big fan of the Roto Grip. And just about everybody I talk to personally, they were like, yeah, like I always have the Roto Grip, and whether it's a net thing, a rod thing, paddle thing. But yeah, that was like one of my big ones. And it's just because it just leaves less stuff in front of you, less tripping, less stuff to handle. And it allows
managed to find a way to hang treble hooks in my net, even when it's in front of me. And I'm with you. I like it in front of me. But yeah, on that rotor grip thing, I actually prefer the park and pole rotor grip, which obviously is designed for the park and pole, which has a 0.84 inch diameter, has an even tighter hold on that 1 inch tubing on the net. So it works great with that. I double it up with one of the snapping straps, which just snaps on the bottom, has the bungee tether included. And yeah, I mean, it's on every kayak that I take out on the water, because I don't go without a net. I mean, I do a lot of topwater fishing, a lot of whopper ploppers, a lot of treble hooks. So, I mean, just reaching your hand out in the water to thumb a smallmouth, isn't always the best scenario. So, and one jump and he's potentially gone. So yeah, I don't take my chances, bigger fish, 15 and under, I'll boat flip, but anything looking nicer than that, I'm pulling out the net, and it's great to have it right there in front of me. So that's definitely a big one. I don't know if that's one that I would go to, starting off building. You definitely want to get to that point, where you're taking a net with you, where you have some kind of net on the boat, but
I will say, I'm just going to second this whole net part, but the leverage landing net
is the best. Is that what you were going to say?
So the leverage landing net's been out for years. Like I've held them. I've never used them until about 2 years ago, and I got a large net, and I was like really blown away by the idea that this thing folds and then flips out, but it also has that forearm, that rest where, your arm can come in. Like I really like that
one-handed control, man. That's where it's at. And I've actually been able to make some believers out of people, just this year. Trevor Powell, who's a West Coast, Pacific Ocean fisherman, didn't think it was going to be big enough or strong enough to hold up to some of those fish, the halibut and the cabezon, and got to make a believer out of him, which is awesome. But actually, I've got one right here.
There we go. I knew you did.
Talking about it, it's actually the new one with the nice new locking trigger system there on that hinge, replacement action for the old hinge. That's due to drop here very, very soon, any day here before Christmas. In this time frame, we're literally just waiting on a shipment of tubing. We've one has come in, and we're just waiting on the thin 1/2-inch tubing to land in that building so we can start bending hoops and building nets and get this new launch underway. I'm so excited about it. This is actually a project that started before COVID. This update, and yes, it's taken a long time. We were full in on it. Gene Jensen actually has had a prototype for the 5 years and still using the same prototype. If you check out any of his videos over the last 5 years, he keeps his behind him.
Anytime
you can see that hinge right there. I don't know why people don't notice it and call it out more often. But he's been rocking the prototype for a long time, but it's one that COVID shut down. And revisiting it, it needed some work that we couldn't really do to finalize it at the time.
Okay.
But with, over the years, as we've advanced and we've gotten better equipment and new equipment, and, the laser that we bought for the leaderboards here behind me to do that, that was a part of that process. So as we advanced, it finally got to the stage where we could tie the bow on it and make it what it needs to be. So like I said, now we're just waiting on some material to get it in and get that one kicked off, but super excited about it.
Yeah, that is really exciting. If anybody, like, just for anybody that uses the leverage landing net now to have a actual lock, that would be something exciting.
Even the laser logos, there's somebody threw some shade at me for a comment that I made on it at ICAST. They're like, oh, their salesman thinks not having a sticker is cool. Yeah, 10 years we've been building these things in a factory, one net at a time, with real people's hands. And I mean, that's what it was then. We have a custom tubing bender. We cut it to length. We bend it. We slap that Yak Attack decal on it, and that thing would get nicked up after a few trips, and that was it. But with the advancement of the laser, being able to add that feature, the lasered on logo, and the nice little, you can see that American flag logo there, and out of the armrest, just those little features right there. I mean, that's awesome, and that's what makes Yak Attack, I think, the best in the world. Is just we're growing. We started in a garage. People think we're this huge corporation. They're like, which Yak Attack do you work at? I work at the only one.
I was just going to say,
small town, place you never heard of. But we have an awesome team of people, like, 60 people in that company. And, we're there every day and trying to make things better and make cooler things for kayak fishermen, and, work with what we've got and continue to get better. And that is, I mean, I don't know how you could say it any better than that. I mean, that's what makes Yak Attack the coolest accessory company on the planet.
Well, also, you guys take the time to shout out your employees. You know what I mean? Like, you see the videos online, you see the photos. You guys are clearly not just active in the sense of manufacturing of a product. You're actually, like, engaged in a social atmosphere where people come to work, and, like, their products don't just reflect the hard work, but it reflects the people that are taking the time to make these products for people. And these are people that may not even really have ever been out on the water kayak fishing. There might be people who do enjoy fishing. These might also be people who are just blown away by the whole concept of kayak fishing. But at the end of the day, they are also supporters of such a big community of people, and their positivity just shines through all of this, products that you guys put out. And you see it, like I said, throughout social media and through, all the shows that you guys do. It's very evident that, this is not just like you said, just some big corporate company where, you come in, you punch out, and, you get your paycheck at the end, and that's that. It's like, this is really more these people's, livelihood, and they put their heart and souls into, their passion into it. So no, I can't. And that's what, even for me, that's kind of what drew me to Yak Attack in the first place was, just years and years ago. I just, remember seeing, like, oh, this, and people just always spoke so highly of the product. And, then I started to see, wow, like, this isn't like just some Chinese made, piece of plastic. Like, this comes from, a small town in Virginia where, their people are, like, manufacturing this stuff. This isn't coming from across the pond, where there's God knows how many people in one factory just, making a couple cents an hour to, punch this and punch that. To,
no, not at all. Not at all, man. We have an
mega
awesome
markup.
People. Not everybody loves to fish. Not everybody's a kayak fisherman, but I mean, we have people that are, passionate about what they do, and some very skilled folks in our workforce that is Yak Attack. I mean, from Bob, Luther's original partner. I mean, all the cool gadgets. I've shown some of them in social media videos. Some of the gadgets that we actually use to assemble the products are way cooler than some of the products. It's just we have some very, very smart people, very, very awesome, dedicated people in our organization. That, I mean, that's the heart of it, and that's what makes it cool. Like I'm just the dude that got suckered into getting in front of the camera. When I started as our purchasing manager, I never thought I'd be sitting on a podcast with Adam Cross, talking about this stuff. It kind of just came on. John needed help in marketing, and he's like, "Hey, go make a video." I'm like, "All right, I'm set up. I'm ready for you to come in here and talk." He's like, "Well, I'm busy. You got to talk." So it just one thing kind of led to another, and so unfortunately, everybody's stuck listening to me on social media and everything. But I'm just a small piece of what happens there, man. I'm not saying I'm not the most passionate about kayak fishing and all this cool stuff and getting to play with all the toys, but I mean, we've got some awesome people, man. And that's Yak Attack. One of the old mottos actually was "We are Yak Attack."
Yeah, there you go. And I
bring back.
Now, let's just go back to just one little thing here is
before we went down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other podcast, right?
That's a whole nother one. Oh boy, we gotta watch this one. To be fair, this is no Joe Rogan podcast. We just we sit down, we talk fishing, we talk kayaks, accessories. We sit down and just talk as two river rats. But my big thing was about the leverage landing net. One thing that I really found out as I go through this whole journey of kayak fishing is when you buy a net, there's a lot of great nets out there. There's these nets that they're like the perfect size, you know what I mean? Or they have perfect handle, or they're just shaped right. And one of the things I always just cringe about is they're either all good up until the point you get treble hooks stuck in it. And when you get treble hooks stuck in a net, and now you have to spend you're sitting there and you're trying to pull, because this net has microscopic holes, and they're just, and treble hook goes in and then treble hook can't come back out because treble hooks aren't really meant to come back out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a bluegill eating all three.
Yeah, exactly.
Just eating the whole treble hook,
inhaled it.
The hole is smaller than the hook.
Yeah, exactly. And and the amount of times I have to sit there, and I remember I would get frustrated and I would be like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to, and I'd take my pliers and I would have to kind of cut the sides of this net and get it out. And I was just like, oh, it would drive me nuts. But then I'd have to fix the net, so then I'd take find a way to fix it, or you'd end up with a hole in your net, and next thing you know, you're catching fish and then they're sneaking out the side of the net. The leverage landing net, I love throwing topwater, and I like throwing big topwater, and big topwater usually has big treble hooks. And one of the things that I loved about the leverage landing net is the size of the netting holes itself and how durable it is. And one of the things I found, especially with river smallmouth fishing, is when you are in the mix of fighting big fish, and you're, because they're just going to start blowing up all over the place. The faster you can get these things into the net, it usually ends better for you. Where I find the times when I can't get them into the net fast and they're flip-flopping all over the place, it's like they just jump onto my boat, and it seems like they can just separate lures from mouths like nothing. But my leverage landing net, it's just whoa, comes in there and they're in. This year alone, I've caught 4 muskie on the river that I fish in. And that leverage landing net, these weren't big, these were not monsters by any means, but that leverage landing net that I have, that thing was such a savior to me, because I would be having these fish come in, and I'm like, oh, I just want to get this thing off and like back into the water. Like I have no interest in catching these fish. I have no interest in catching pike. Like I'm not there to catch you guys. I'm there to catch river smallmouth. And I'll be honest with you, the leverage landing net, man, that thing made my life so much easier out there at times when I had these, big toothy fish, because I could just get them into the net, shake hooks, get them, and then I could literally just put that thing right back in, and it was gone. Back into the water it went, and the size and the quality of those holes in the netting is what draws me to that, because through time I've learned that I don't really want these fine hole nets. Like I would rather have, something that isn't going to need me to spend extra time clipping the sides of the material to get my treble hooks back.
Yeah, it's got the bigger holes. It's also, the rubberized netting, which is, your fish friendly netting. It's safer for the slime coat on the fish. And
exactly.
Woo!
Sorry. God bless you.
It's better for the slime. It's better for the fish. There it is. That's number 2.
Third time.
It's better for the fish altogether. And I'll say, in my early days of purchasing, that's the one and only thing that we purchased from overseas, and everything that we built, until some of the more recent products here, was that one piece of netting, That's just because that rubberized netting is only made in one place in the world.
Really?
Yeah, it's made in Taiwan. I honestly couldn't fathom what a mold would look. Just what I know about molding and everything that we do, couldn't even fathom what that would look like. The size of a mold like that to pull that off. But it's the same one used by, I'm not going to call anybody out, but other competitors that use a similar rubberized netting. If you look at it close enough, it's the exact same rubberized netting that you'll see on 3 or 4 other brands out there. So as far as your rubberized netting goes, like that's it. You have your other options with your vinyl coated nylons and things, that one that we used to use. But no, it's overall, better for your treble hooks.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Better for the fish as a whole, and that's the reason we use that one in particular.
Well, and I was just gonna say that because there's nothing worse than having a fish that's like not just it's already sunk in the one set of treble hooks, but now he or she is sunk in all the other treble hooks with the net. And then you got to sit there and try and like pull this thing apart. And it's just like, it's better. It's like, I totally agree. The bigger.
Well, I don't know about you. I mean, when I net a fish, say he spits it from the beginning and I get a treble hook hung in that net. The time I spend trying to get, say, the back treble hook out, by the time that I do, I catch it with the front treble hook. And then I get the front out, and then I've caught the back again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a vicious cycle.
And the beauty about the leverage landing net also is that, you have sizes. So if you would prefer to have a larger size, or a larger hoop, let's say, and then, you have like the more slender hoop. But you guys also have an array of other leverage landing nets, whether it's just a landing net, and then there's the leverage landing net. But yeah, that's definitely one that I would add personally to anybody who's just going out there, when you're kind of looking to get into a sufficient net. I would really recommend that one. Like if you think this might be on the expensive side, well, yeah, for sure, it would be, but by the time you've spent, like we've just spoken about with treble hooks and other nets, then yeah, I think you would see it in the long run as a worthwhile.
Yeah.
part.
I mean, there are other, there are a lot of great straight handle nets out there. But once you've used this forearm grip here, with this one, I mean, you get it. And, it makes so much sense. It just makes your life easier out there on the kayak. And at the end of the day, that's
All right, hold on 2 seconds. We're gonna get Wade back here. I did want to say though, the net is a worthwhile part to come in, check out. You would see it as being the one necessity with 2 different sizes. So if you fish for, you want the extra size, go with the big size. If you want the undersize, go with the other. But yeah, no, in the end, I think he is gonna come back. Yeah, Wade will be back. I think he had a little glitch here. One of the other ones I would totally recommend checking out is the Black Pack. Now, whether size wise you need the Black Pack 13 by 13 fits in just about every kayak. 13 by 16 should just about fit in every kayak. 16 by 16 is the one where you might struggle with the size. In the end, hold on here. Wade's back. Oh, there he is.
I don't know what just happened.
I don't know what happened either, but
Everything
we
just-
brought you back. I don't know why. Yeah, because you were there, and then all of a sudden it was buffering. I'm like, oh, but in the end, you're
Joys of
back.
living in the country, sir.
Yes. Yes. I was actually I quickly moved on to something here. Was when we were talking about the net, I went through from the net and I was just going to talk about the leverage, like after talking about the leverage line net, Black Pack. I think a Black Pack is just one of those necessity items that I really like. And it comes in a variety of sizes, and it's really based on like how much stuff you take, and you have the ability to have rod holders with it. But based on the amount of gear that you choose to take with you, whether that's we could go everything from tackle to first aid kit to just basic sunscreen, water, lunch, whatever, terminal tackle, you name it, a camera, a rain jacket, whatever. Most the 13 by 13 and the 13 by 16, majority of them fit within most builds.
Most modern kayaks.
Yeah,
will have a big enough tank. Well, there's still a few out there that don't get it really, but Black Pack is definitely one of the first things that I'm going to pick. When I go and start building out a new kayak build, I'm going to try all 3 sizes, see which one works. Think about what I'm going to be actually out there doing. Mm-hmm. I use a 13-16 most of the time because I get my lunchbox in it, But if I'm doing something different, I'm probably going to run a 13-13 because I'm not taking the kitchen sink with me. But at the same time, that said, we were kind of talking about that, that guy getting started. I would honestly say go out and get that free milk crate and use it for a year, and then 100%. Upgrade. And then you're going to appreciate the Black Pack so much more than you would have, had you just bought it straight out and wondered, I guess it's okay. No, when you come from the origins where most of us started with that milk crate, where, even I've done, the bungee zigzag and the cut off the bottom of the milk crate and try to make a lid, and your stuff still gets wet and is exposed to the elements. You can't keep that jacket or whatever in there nice and dry throughout the day on a crappy day. So that's where the Black Pack really shines, is, having the lid and keeping all your gear nice and dry throughout the day, but also having the modularity to build it out what suits your kayak the best. Put your rod holders where you want to put them. Hinge your lid however you want. You want 1 latch or you want 2 latches to keep it secure, and that's one of the things that makes it fantastic. And then the ability to upgrade it from there, with the short stack or the mesh bag, or even just a little, I don't want to call it the pistol clip, because the belt loop adapter that you can clip your knife on, or your Leatherman, or again, a pistol, or whatever you've got with you. That is for me now, step 1 in a kayak build. over the simpler things. It's like, which black pack am I going to start with? Then everything kind of reflects there for, down the line.
For years, I used all sorts of different crates. I used the J crate. My first crate was the J crate by Jackson Kayak, and then I went to the original black pack, and after that, I went into the milk crate with the Plano soft crate. And I was like, I liked it, and I would rig it all up, and it was just really simple. And I remember even talking to a friend of mine, Jay Brown, and he's like, "Man, you gotta, there's the Black Pack Pro, and I was like, yeah." And I remember everybody's like, "Oh, I got to get one." I'm like, "Well, I'm pretty content with what I have." And then I ended up acquiring one, and I got the 13 by 16, and I can get over it. I was, like you said, I was like, this is like night and day. It was one of those things that for me was a huge amount of.
I have 11 in this room with me.
Oh my God. I only okay. So I have, for the record, I have one in my garage.
I'm sorry. It's kind of the job, but.
And I'll be honest with you, and I go out with this 13 by 16, and I do put my rods on a 45, the 2 rod holders that I have on it, and then I have 2 rod holders in the back for a camera mount. But what I wanted to say was, like, I go out with the 13 by 16, but I could probably get away, I'm not kidding, with just a 13 by 13, because I use it mainly to store my terminal tackle that I'll bring out, which is not very much. And then I'll bring, which is usually rigged into a 3600 Plano box. And then after that, all I have is really the first aid kit in there, my lunch, and that's it. Like, and if I bring a camera, then I'll have a battery pack that goes into it. But really, other than that, I probably don't really need the 13 by 16. I could get away with the 13 by 13, but it's what I have, so it's what I use. 3 inches is maybe, I don't know how much weight distribution that would be between the two, but at the end of the day, so the 13 by 13, I think without the tethered rod tubes is 6.9 pounds. With the tethered rod tubes, it is 8.2 pounds. So like not a huge difference. But one of the things that I found is that for me, it was really night and day, and I really like that product, and it's just handy to have everything in there. And it has that lid that clips. That's one of the things I really liked about it. Because in the event you flip, and you have everything tethered down, not having that lid just pop off and have all your stuff go to the bottom is one thing, and it should help it from also filling up as fast as it can, which adds weight when you have to flip your kayak back over.
Yeah. But like you said, I keep a lunch box. It's kind of the 6-pack can kind of shape, lunch box. So that sits in the front half of the 13-16, the back half. I've got a stack of the track packs.
Nice.
Behind that, the ones I'm not using, but the tackle that I am using, I've usually got a track pack snapped, somewhere right in front of me, usually at all times. And that's got the stuff that I'm going to be using all day, 8 different options of Whopper Plopper usually. But that's the stuff I'm using, and what's behind me, it's there if I need it, or if I feel like I need to make a hard change, depending on what the fish are doing. But again, lunch is back there, and anything else I might need.
Okay, so there's one thing we really need to talk about, though, and this will kind of kind of go into the build aspect of it, because and this is just probably for all the like these Yak Attack gearheads that are just like rigging the dream, is the newly put together SwingArm CrossBar.
The SwingArm CrossBar. All right. So brand new to the Yak Attack arsenal. So we launched our command center crossbar back in August. It's been great. You know, your solid, sturdy, one gunnel to the other, rigging option there. But now the SwingArm is something completely different. There's really nothing like it out there. I mean, it features our 4-sided tack-to-track rail. So you have essentially a 4-sided bar that you can rig to the gills, however whatever you think you need to put on there. You've got room to put it on there. But it's all attached to a very sturdy rotating base. It takes up about 7.5 inches of track, held down by 2 bolts, 2 knobs, so it comes off super easy. But you flip a lever and you have full 360 rotation on this.
That's so cool.
I mean, the options for the things that you can do with this new SwingArm crossbar are unreal. I've done a video or two on this autopilot that I've been building, where, obviously with that autopilot, you have the big motor and everything there in front of you when you deploy it or pop it up if you run shallow. And a crossbar, at least for me, I have long legs. I can't have the crossbar all the way up here. 100%. So it's got to be out there a ways. That's where most of your gear track is anyways. So being able to throw a latch, swing that out of the way, do what you got to do, or even work with a fish. Measure your fish and do whatever you have to do, and then just throw the graph right back in front of you. Nice. I mean, that's a great option. I've been playing with, kind of a track pack, drilling some holes in the cutting board and kind of mounting that where I have like a little bait station that I can swing up beside me and just throw it back out of the way, when I'm good. Even to the new canoe I did here, I think most recently, where I had 3 AR tubes on it and can swing them around. I can work on, whatever I'm doing, make my selection and then swing it back out of the way, lock it in place. It's back there. I don't have to think about it. But I mean, great if you're maybe a big dude that can't pivot around. You swing your rods around, get what you need, swing it back. That's what I've done with it. I'm very excited to see here I was able to get this one out to a bunch of influencers, some of the top guys out there, making content right now. So it's in the hands of a bunch of content creators. So you guys, follow along on social media. You'll be seeing a ton of this stuff, here this week and the coming weeks with this newly launched product. But it's a fun one. It's a different one that, your imagination is your limit to what you can use this thing for.
Well, that's what I was like. I was going to wonder about this, like, because when we spoke about this whole SwingArm crossbar, I'm like how does this work on a kayak though? To be like, there are obviously parts in a kayak that are, obviously removable, parts that can move, but a SwingArm, in already a small place, and like you said, pedal drives and the working at motors, but like you made a really good point right there, like you could just swing it out of the way, and you just talked about another one which I thought was pretty impressive, was the tether tubes on the back, and you're able to just kind of like swing it over, like, okay, I need this rod, boom, and you made a really good point here where if you, careless what size you are, even if you're, a guy like me, you might have a bad back and you can't do that full turn. Having something that you could literally just reach behind, pull, yeah, okay, cool. This one back, swing it back. it's a lot easier than doing the whole turnaround part or sitting up on your seat in the, weather conditions of white water and whatnot. Like this might not just be one of its own. This just might change the game in the way that, people rig their kayaks, but also the same way that we're not over fatiguing ourselves in the sense that we're having to consistently turn around. And you made another point too about, if you're a bigger dude, bigger lady, whatever it is, you have this ability to, not have to, you don't have limited mobility. You're able to gain full access with the swing.
Right. I mean, imagine another scenario. I mean, you've got a front hatch on your kayak.
Yep, I sure do have a front hatch on my kayak.
What do you keep up in that front hatch all day long that you don't really think about that you might need at one point?
So
rain gear, something like that.
I keep a dry bag in the front hatch that has a first aid kit. It has rain gear. It has a hat. Has sunscreen. It'll have gloves in there.
Picture needing something out of that front hatch, but you got a graph or even maybe two right there in front of you, and having to reach over top of that stuff. I actually watched our friend Chuck Earls do that on the Niagara and pop one of his graphs out of the track while we were out there on the water, trying to lean over it to get something out of the front. Just a simple throw a lever, swing it out of the way, get what you need out of the hatch, swing it back in front of you. I know what you're going to say.
Could you imagine? Hold on here. Could you could you imagine you get all the way out there and all of a sudden you're reaching over, and you bump one of your graphs, because like on social media right now, there is nothing but kayaks that have it's looked like I got two TVs in the front of them. You know what I mean? And could you imagine just boom hitting one off and it just happens to take a dive into the water? It's gone. Where the swing arm right here, I got two graphs, and I can just swing it. I got to get into that front hatch. Or you got to grab something there in the front.
These graphs cost more than kayaks. I mean, they're
100%.
That's not something you want to lose out there.
No. And
so
big
work
shout
around
out.
it when you can just swing it out of the way.
Swing it out of the way.
And the spin on kayak rigging, my friend.
I think you definitely did. When can we expect this out exactly?
All right, so as of now, it's out. It's available at YakAttack.us.
Okay, so the SwingArm CrossBar as not just graphs here, but the ability to even put short stacks, whatnot, in the front, move stuff around, rods in the back. It sounds like a product that is out there in the sense that it's not just geared to, the guys who are running double graphs. It's out there to find a more sufficient way to keep things organized on the water, but the ability to just swing it on out of there. So you don't end up like our friend Chuck Earls, and potentially, and shout out to Chuck. I
love Chuck.
Chuck, you're great. We're gonna definitely have to get you back on the podcast, But I was gonna say is that this idea that you can just swing it out of the way, this is really cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what people do with it. The things to come over the coming weeks here that it's out and people are getting it in their hands to really see what they do with it. I mean, when the command center, the other crossbar first launched, one of the craziest things I saw, some guy bought two of them, mounted them both on the front of his deck, and then had the big square plate on this downrigger mounted to these 2 crossbars and just crazy stuff. So, I mean, people are going to do things that I have yet to think of in using this. And so that's what I'm excited to see. I will say I've seen people ask, it's like, hey, can I mount a motor to this? I'm going to say no to that one because where this is limited, it's to the strength of your gear track. And again, as we discussed earlier, not all kayaks are created the same.
Exactly.
I've seen people that they'll say something about, even with the standard lock and load base on a graph, you know, that, oh, it wobbles. Your track is what's wobbling. And I mean, not in all cases, you know, the lock and load base has a little play, but in a lot of places, you know, you'll see the boat, that plastic hull will flex, you know, the track will flex. And the last thing you want to do is take this giant lever and rip the track out of your boat. So be smart, be careful, guys, you know, build up to it.
Definitely.
But if you have the ability to add a piece of track somewhere and put backing plates on it, I would strongly suggest that if you're going to go big with this thing, because again, the track on your boat is going to be your weak spot. Some kayaks have plastic tracks. A lot of manufacturers out there use our track, or I'm seeing a lot of Crescents use Ketch's track, which is another solid aluminum, you know, good strong track. But then you also have to think about how it's connected to the boat. Like I know the Old Towns, every screw has a threaded insert, like a brass insert in there. Some kayaks have one, and then the rest are just screws down into a little plastic screw boss. So, I mean, we have to be smart at what we're working with, because I mean, this is a very sturdy part that could do some amazing things. But the last thing you want to do is use a giant lever to. I mean, in testing, trying to break this thing, we ripped track out of somebody's wooden desk in our design office.
Really?
Yeah. He had a piece of our 16-inch GT 175 track, which is the stuff, you know, it's got screw holes down both sides.
Yeah.
And obviously for a desk installation, you know, I think we did like every other or every third screw hole, just because, you know, it was pretty sturdy as it was. But yeah, we put some pressure on this thing, and it ripped the track right out of this wooden desk.
Well, this is part of the testing for, you know, testing a product out. You want to fail it.
I don't want this to sound bad. I mean, it is a very strong, very sturdy part, but you know your kayak and know its limitations. And that's with any kind of rigging, you know, to what we were saying, you don't want to go out there with a bargain brand, what we maybe call a starter kayak, which, I mean, again, what I started with, you know, a cheap kayak. But you don't want to go out with something like that and overload this thing like you see it's like somebody with an XTR. Like you can't carry what they can carry, you know.
Yeah, the mini bass boat that it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a big thing. We really haven't hit on with the rigging process is know your vessel and its limitations, not just yours, not what you want to put on it and what you want it to look like, but know your vessel's limitations.
That's just one of those great points, is knowing the limitations of not just yourself, but your vessel.
You should definitely know yours.
Yeah,
when it comes to water and
100%. Like, it's just being smart smart while you're out on the water. But I just think too, you bring up, you know, that limitation, and you were just talking about track, and people are like, oh, like it's, you know, it's so wobbly, and it's like, well, you look at the track, like if you look where you're mounting things, like if you took like the weight of some of these screens, or you just took the weight, and for instance, like I look at, for instance, the mega rod holders, and I've seen where guys use them for trolling. And you got to think, like, if you're trolling for big fish, like, you got to be smart about where you're going to put that. Like, you're not going to just put it on this little piece of, you know, plastic that's got, you know, 4 screws in it and hope for the best, because I guarantee when you hit something heavy, you know, that fish is going to want to pull that whole piece right off.
Right.
You know, but no, this SwingArm CrossBar, you know, this is going to be exciting time for Yak Attack. Also, in all the influencers that have the product out there that are going to get you the goodies, and it'll be neat to see too, like just how like everybody is rigging it up. You know what I mean? Like that's you just and when we were speaking about it, you talked about several different ways. Like you honestly, when you said, "Oh, the SwingArm CrossBar," and we talked about screens, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Like that's I didn't think about like, oh, in the back like rods. I didn't think like in even like a plate on it, or like just how people are using it to swing stuff out of the way. Like, yeah, it just might be a product that may not be for everybody, may be a product that might be seen as the computer screen, gaming screen in front of your kayak, but really it's not. Like this thing has a lot more going on than just it being for multiple screens in the front of your kayak.
Yeah, I mean, well, even one of the first really teases out there. He was a little early on it, but I mean, it's because he added it to his Yak Off build. I don't know if you've been following the Kayak Angler magazine Yak Offs and all the awesome builds out there. But Jeff from Aggressively Average Anglers just had it on one of the new Old Town. What is it? The Old Town PDL Pro.
Okay. Yep.
And so you've got your pedals here. So he kind of has it where it's set off the side of the kayak a little bit. But dude, he has a screen on this thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's this laptop here? Like, I swear it's 16 inches or bigger even. I mean, it takes up almost that full 20-inch bar and just sits there solid as a rock right off the side, out of the way of his pedals, and supports the whole graph out of the way. You can't do that with anything else out there.
No, that's that is impressive.
Excessive.
I'm just gonna add something here. When like it is once again, I always enjoy sitting down and talking with you, and I enjoy.
I feel like we could just do this for like 3 hours.
And we totally could. And
buckle up, guys. You're in for it.
Yeah. And we're gonna carry on to the next. But no, like I always appreciate you coming on by the River Run podcast, sitting down with me, chatting. I love all the influence that you bring to this, and like it's just you're one of those people that's just an enjoyable person to chat with. My brother down there in Virginia, but I did want to say though, once again, it's always awesome that you kind of bring in some really cool product insight to this for viewers of the podcast, and just for anybody who follows, Yak Attack, if even going back to phone holders to now the SwingArm CrossBar. That might just be something I'm going to need to look into here. But honestly, Wade, I really appreciate you coming on by and hanging out once again on A River Runs Through It, as this would be like your third time on the podcast, but like it'd be the second segment of A River Runs Through It for the SwingArm CrossBar / kayak build introduction to the overwhelming productivity that could be out there for newcomers. No, I really appreciate you taking the time.
We have so many other things to talk about next time, man. We've got the drop shot anchor reel.
I know.
It's a little bit further behind in the development process than we thought it was going to be. But that's what development looks like, unfortunately. You think it's right, you mold some parts, you put it together, and it's not quite. We could launch it, yeah. But it could be okay. It could be a good product, but is it worthy of that Yak Attack name yet? No. So, I mean, that's another one coming with so many other things. So we'll have to keep this thing running. And, I mean, just think of all the products that are already out that we didn't talk about tonight, Adam.
I know. And so don't worry. Come the new year, we're going to be sitting down again and chatting, because this is
good Lord willing. Yes,
it is always enjoyable. A River Runs Through It was just I don't know. It just became the name, and that's
It just flows.
It just flows, dude, just like the river. Wade, once again, thank you so much for stopping on by the River Run podcast. I'm your host, Adam Pross. Wade Clements of Yak Attack. Don't forget to follow him. Don't forget to go over to yakattack.usa. Check out that SwingArm CrossBar. It is dropped. It is here. We are here on the River Run podcast, and we thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Check us out where we'll be at. Yak Attack is the one stop. The River Run podcast on Instagram and YouTube. Yak Attack YouTube. Check that out also. And on Instagram, check them out. Wade Clements, Yak Attack. This is A River Runs Through It.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols, The Rusty Hook with John Rapp, The River Run with Adam Fraser Pross, May Contain Fishing with Daniel Woodcock, Chasing the 20s with Carlisle Esterly and Sean Lavery, Friday Night Bites with Brian Schiller. Thanks for tuning into the Paddle and Fin Network. Subscribe